Hi everybody, I'm Burmeister with Wakeman Town Farm, and today I'd like to show you my basic granola recipe. The thing I love about this recipe, 1, makes the house smell good all day long. 2, you can likely make it with whatever you have in your pantry. And if you don't have exactly what I have, you can substitute. So let's get started. First, you start with an oat. You can use like an old-fashioned rolled oat or a mixed cereal oat. Then add some seeds. I'm using pumpkin seeds today, or you could use pepitas, another variation of pumpkin seed, maybe some sunflower seeds. Then some nuts. Today I'm using almonds. Fats, today I'll use butter. Sweeteners, I'm going to use honey and brown sugar, and then some sort of spice. In this case, I'm going to use cinnamon. But you might also consider nutmeg or allspice. So let's get started. First, we're going to add our oats, so 6 cups of oats. Then we'll add your seeds. I'm going to use 2 cups of seeds, pepitas. Then your nuts. I'm using an almond. Remember to make sure that your seeds and your nuts, just like your oats, are not already roasted, because we're going to be roasting these, so you want a raw version of whatever you're going to use. I like a coarsely chopped almond. I've tried to do this in the food processor and it just makes a mealy mess. So be a little patient and rough chop your almonds or whatever nut you're going to use. This consistency seems to be pretty darn satisfying. So I use a generous cup of nuts. Then on to our fats. Maybe give your mixture a good stir, so that when you start adding your fats and your sweeteners, that you don't have to do a lot of extra mixing, because it'll soak right in. So here's your fats. I'm using a 1/4 cup of butter, but if you don't have butter or you want to try something else, another really yummy granola version is olive oil. I love olive oil in a granola, or maybe coconut oil, something like that, or maybe you have a nut oil if you want to make it really ritzy granola. The other trick that I like is I always pour my fat in first and then measure my honey, because if you use the same container, the honey slides right out and it's a lot easier to clean. So I use about a 1/4 cup of honey. These are good local bees for us. So there's your 1/4 cup of honey, and I kind of stir and I let it pour all at the same time, and the honey slides right out. Then I like to use a little brown sugar. It gives you those nice little nuggets in granola after you roast it, but I didn't have any brown sugar today, and we're not running out to the store just for brown sugar these days. So I Googled it, and you can make your own brown sugar. I use regular cane sugar and molasses. I like to use dark brown sugar because it gives the granolas a little bit more of a robust taste. So it's 2 teaspoons of molasses to 1 cup of cane sugar. Stir it up, and there's your brown sugar. So I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Maybe get it out. I packed that in really well. And stir it around. Oh, it's starting to look good. See how, I don't know if you can see this, but as I start to stir, it's kind of sticking together just a little bit, getting a little bit clumpy. Make sure you get those brown sugar clumps out. That's how you know you've got about the right consistency, about the right ratio of fats and sugars to your granola. The other thing I love about this granola is it's not that sweet, which I've heard a lot of people like. So this consistency will give you a not too sweet granola. That means that it's really yummy with some fruit added on top. You could even add some dried fruit to it and it wouldn't be too sweet. And finally, some seasoning. I like cinnamon in everything. So I'm going to use a good tablespoon of cinnamon. And again, it's all about the smells in the house. So this is sure to be a pleaser. I've also used nutmeg, which is delicious, allspice. You decide. You've got lots of great cooks in this crowd, and I'm sure that you'll come up with a great idea yourself. So there we go. all mixed up and ready to go. Pour it on a cookie sheet. I like to really use your heaviest cookie sheet you've got because it's gonna roast for a long time. And if you can make that heat distribution even, you'll get a better result. So use your heaviest cookie sheet, spread it out there. See, it piles up pretty thick, right? And then we stick it in the oven. And I like to roast this for, well, until it almost starts to smell burnt, or I remember I had it in the oven, but it usually ends up being about 2.5 hours at your lowest possible temperature. So in this case, 170. So I'm gonna slide it in. And just like those little cooking shows I used to watch, I've got one finished. So this is the granola after it's roasted about 2.5 hours. That's about the color you want it for toasty but not burnt taste. Then dump it out on parchment paper on your counter and let it dry, or not dry, cool. The reason you want it to cool completely is so that it stays dry. If it's warm at all, you're gonna end up getting soggy granola. So before you go to store it, make sure that it's really dry. And then whatever's left over because your family didn't come through and just grab handfuls of it, you can store in an airtight container on your counter, or you can put it in a container and put it in the freezer, and that keeps it really fresh. We go through it fast enough that I just store it on the counter, but another option is to freeze it. Thanks so much. This is a basic recipe. I would love to hear the variations that you do. So if you give it a go and try something different, share it with us on Instagram.